Hello, this is Leah Whitehorse from Leah Astrology, and this video is going to be about Saturn in Sagittarius. I just wanted to start with a quick note for those of you who may not have seen my website and you've been waiting for my monthly forecast. Back in June, unfortunately, I was really ill and I wasn't able to make the video. So what I did was wrote the forecast on the website. And since then, I've actually continued to doing that. So the September forecast, it hasn't gone up yet, but I realise we're right at the end of the month, so it's about to go up. So once it's up, I'll put the link in the box below so that you've got it. So all the information you'd normally have in the video forecasts will now be on my website in written format. In place of the monthly video here on YouTube, I'm going to be making some sort of videos with like special topics in astrology and in tarot, and I'd quite like to branch out and doing some on dream work as well, because that's something I haven't written a lot about and haven't talked a lot about, but it's a massive passion of mine. So I've been kind of thinking of some ideas there as well, and also I'd quite like to maybe sort of make some Q&A videos. So if you've got some questions about astrology, maybe you're learning astrology or you're learning tarot, or sort of general spirituality, dream work, then put your questions in the comments, and I'll have a look. If it's in the realm of my experience and I feel like I've got something I can talk about, then I will put it on the list of things to of videos to make. If you've got more sort of personal questions about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your chart, I do offer readings on my website, and I'll also put the links in the box below as well. So on to the topic of this video, which is going to be Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn first visited Sagittarius between December 2014 and March 2015, but he went back into Scorpio by retrograde motion to kind of finish off his mission there. Now, while Saturn was in Scorpio, we've been asked to go inwards, to dig deep down into our past, to unearth truths, sometimes dirty truths, difficult truths that maybe we didn't want to face. But Saturn is harsh reality, so he's not allowed us to leave any stone unturned. It's been a journey through darkness, and as Scorpio is a water sign, it's been quite an intense journey and an emotional journey for many of us. And perhaps it's brought us crises or critical junctures as we release the past and eliminated unhealthy or toxic people, relationships, situations and attitudes that we were holding on to, and that they were blocking our personal growth. Saturn's revisit to Scorpio has kind of provided us with one last chance to get rid of this extra baggage, to release the baggage in order to clear the way for the journey ahead as Saturn moves into Sagittarius. So Saturn will enter Sagittarius on the 18th of September 2015. So that's when he's going to start his journey properly. He's got his boarding pass, he's sorted out his baggage, and he's ready to go. But the question is, where is he going? What's the destination? And that's the question that he will pose to us. As we emerge from the crises and darkness of Scorpio after death and endings and closure, elimination, introspection, and facing the brutal truth, Saturn in Sagittarius begins a whole new chapter. And in this chapter, we're going to start to look outwards instead of inwards. We start to envisage the future instead of raking over the past. And we begin to look for meaning and understanding after all that we've been through. Sagittarius is the sign of the great storyteller. Maybe Saturn in Scorpio gave you some twists in the tale and mystery, suspense, and maybe it was a horror story from start to finish. Saturn in Sagittarius will ask you to tell your story, but to reframe it, because you'll get distance on it. So the story will start to look a little bit different. It'll help you to get to grips with what happened and why. The stories we tell ourselves are important because they often dictate how we envisage the future. So what stories are you telling yourself? What stories are you saying over and over? Do they help or do they hinder your progress? Saturn's ingress into Sagittarius is a significant shift in cosmic energy. It moves us up a grade in the learning process, and therefore there's going to be new challenges, new tests, new things to learn. Saturn will remain in Sagittarius until the 20th of December 2017, so we've got time to assimilate these lessons. Typically, wherever Saturn is moving in your chart, he tends to slow down that area of life, because when things are in slow motion, that's when we can really see what's going on. Often there are delays when Saturn is moving through our charts, and we can get frustrated with that. But in retrospect, it's much easier to see why we've been held back. The gifts of Saturn are often delayed too. With Saturn, we've got to get into thinking about things in the long term, not in the short term. Sagittarius is the last of the fire signs. It's ruled by expansive Jupiter. Sagittarius is all about broadening your understanding and experience of the world. Like fire, Sagittarius is always on the move. It's crackling with enthusiasm, and it's brought alive by the promise of adventure. But restrictive, cautious Saturn, however, will rein in some of this vital energy. Sagittarius is symbolized by the centaur, so it's half man, half horse, and this centaur holds a bow and arrow that's aimed towards the sky. Saturn's presence in Sagittarius will ask us to focus our aim so we can hit the bullseye rather than just firing off arrows willy-nilly to wherever because it looks exciting at the time. And that's one of the downfalls of Sagittarius, that it can get over enthusiastic and kind of start lots of things and not necessarily finish them. Saturn in Sagittarius asks what ideas, hopes and dreams and goals do you have that can really go the distance. He'll require you to define those aims clearly. And maybe it will mean that you'll have to narrow your choices, which can seem a bit frustrating, even frightening. Having choices can feel like it gives us a great deal of freedom. But sometimes too many choices creates its own kind of procrastination as we jump from one idea to the other and never seeing anything through to the end. Saturn in Sagittarius will ask us to choose so that we can focus on not only starting the journey but actually getting to the destination. Rather than going everywhere, Saturn insists that we are going somewhere, to name that place. Saturn will ask us to choose projects that have the ability to go the distance. Sagittarius is the sign of the visionary, so Saturn will ask you to crystallize your vision, define exactly what it is you want. Sagittarius is associated with overseas travel, different cultures, religion, education, philosophy, law. It's all the topics that push us to expand our minds. Saturn's passage here is rather like sitting in class with a great professor, and there's going to be a lot to learn, and we're going to have to do the work. We've got to read the difficult books, in other words. We can't skim read, no cliff notes allowed. We've really got to knuckle down and learn and wrap our heads around these challenging concepts. We've got to walk the talk. It's possible that you may find your beliefs about the world and about yourself being challenged during this time. This transit could be a test of faith. It's interesting that during the first half of this transit, Jupiter in Virgo is going to be asking us to practice what we preach. But in order to practice what we preach, we need to know what we actually believe. So it feels as though during the first half of this transit, there may be a lot of questions being asked about Are your beliefs working for you? Limiting beliefs in particular will be challenged. So we're looking at things like where you say to yourself, I never do this, or I can't do that, I couldn't possibly do this. These kinds of limiting beliefs are the ones that Saturn will be raising up for you to really look at. During the first half of Saturn in Sagittarius as well, there's going to be a real emphasis on mutable signs, because Sagittarius itself is a mutable sign. Jupiter in the nodes will be in Virgo, and then we've also got Neptune and Chiron in Pisces. So this mutable overtone kind of indicates that this is a time of flux and change. So we're going to need to be flexible as well as consistent. Sagittarius is all about having the big vision, and Saturn says, that's fine, you've got a vision, but is it real? Is it possible? Saturn's going to square Neptune 3 times during this transit. The exact dates are the 26th of November 2015, the 18th of June 2016, and the 10th of September 2016. Neptune is spiritual and compassionate, and he's also a bit of a dreamer. So Neptune's idealism will be challenged by this Saturn square. If we're looking at the world through rose-coloured spectacles, Saturn will remove those glasses in no uncertain terms and stick on a pair of bifocals so that you can clearly see what's right in front of you, and also the big picture as well. This Saturn energy won't let us escape into dreamland. It will push us to do something to make our vision a reality. And it won't let us get away with unrealistic fantasies that just have no substance in the real world. Saturn square Neptune will ask, are you a dreamer or a doer? It may feel painful with the sharp square, but it's absolutely necessary, because Saturn knows that we as humankind are capable of great things, but we have to start at the beginning. We have to be clear, we have to make something happen, and we have to be willing to deepen our knowledge and really focus on it. We've got to put the hours in. Saturn in Sagittarius square to Neptune will ask you to commit to your dream or let it go. It may have a quality of now or never about it. In fact, Saturn square to Neptune, bearing in mind that Neptune sometimes symbolizes things that are lost, it's rather like an SOS signal. Saturn square to Neptune might actually help you if you have been feeling lost. So it will help you to actually figure out where you are on the map. Now, you might not like what you see, but at least once you see where you are, you can make a plan to where you want to get to. All transits of Saturn bring up an element of responsibility and accountability. Saturn's transit through Sagittarius will very much bring home to us that the future relies on what we do in the present. We'll need to get serious about educating ourselves. We'll need to use our time constructively and productively so that we can move into this unfamiliar territory. Now, going somewhere new, metaphorically and physically, it can be exciting, but also it can bring up fears, and that's the realm of Saturn. Saturn's icy rings are barriers to the inner planet. So we're going to be asked to adjust our barriers and boundaries so that they work for us rather than against us. Although we're going to have this tense square between Saturn and Neptune in the first half of Saturn in Sagittarius, during the second half of this transit, Saturn is going to trine Uranus. These trines will occur on the 25th of December 2016, the 19th of May 2017, and the 11th of November 2017. It's almost as if the skies say, once we've got rid of what isn't possible, and we've exercised all of our self-defeating behaviors stemming from limiting beliefs, then we can start working on the real changes. With a clear vision and a mission statement that's aligned with our authentic self, we can awaken to the thrill of an adventure. This transit may be a rite of passage or a trial by fire, but by the end of it, we have the potential to have achieved more than we ever actually dreamed of. Saturn in Sagittarius will be the chance for you to put yourself on the map.